Good morning. My name is Fengjiao. I am a master's student at the MIT Media Lab. This work of personalized animation is done with the help of two great undergrads, Veronica, Emily, and with the help of my wonderful advisor, Ross. Imagine that there is a movie about your life. You are the main character, and it tells the story of your past and present. What stories would be in your movie? Would you respond to it emotionally, or would you be like, ha, ha, ha? Can we make a personalized movie for everyone and use it as an intervention tool for, say, mood and depression? We built a system that can make such a movie for you. A few questions popped up. If you're represented by a character in this movie, what does that character look like? Does he or she or they look like you? Research shows that people are often uncomfortable with or repulsed by avatars that look like them. Reflecting on a lot of animated movies with animal characters, we decided to use a model whose emotions are universally relatable, a polygon dog, like this one. Later, we found out that using a dog, a cat, a squirrel, the model doesn't really matter as long as the movie told the right stories. Instead of attempting to animate everything that ever happened, we looked at individuals' emotional space and symbolized life events with cinematic events. For example, we can't animate getting fired from your job, but it would be visualized as a devastating snowstorm. Later, I will also talk about how these symbolic events are in fact very intuitive and relatable for the viewers. How do we represent the flow of time? It certainly cannot be uniform, otherwise I'd be watching a movie of 24 years long. We often remember our lives in terms of the dramatic moments, that is, the moments that significantly affected our moods and emotions. In this movie, we zoom in on the big mood changes, and we smooth out the boring bits to imitate how our emotional memories are encoded in our brain. Life is repetitive, but we don't want our users to get bored by watching the same thing over and over again. Among all the aspects of behaviors that could possibly affect mood, we chose to focus on sleep and exercise, stressful situations, social interaction, and sense of purpose in our prototype. These factors have been reported in studies to affect mood significantly and are closely associated with symptoms of depression. Notice that there's this thing, one line as memory retrieval cue here. We asked the users for one line or phrase that would remind them of the events in the future as they fill out these surveys to provide us with their data. So they know the events that the movie story corresponds to. You'll see what it is when I show the animation later. Our work draws inspiration from the research of emotional agents, serious gaming, and reflective media design. The simplest form of reflective media design is perhaps the sleep and wake graph in your health app. In some ways, our personalized movies is a mood data visualization tool that is easier to interpret and fuzzier in the numerical accuracy. It also has an additional emotional factor compared to these graphs and numbers. We draw from the theories and research in autonomous emotional agents to design our characters, to make them believable, such that you think these 3D models have emotions and thoughts. We need to demonstrate that they have attention, perception, and reaction to external stimulus. Serious games are designed to motivate users to maintain healthy habits by rewarding good behavior. Users can often play these games with your respiration rate or workout data. You can also think of the personalized animation as a game that you play with your emotions. However, it differs from a game because in a movie or a fiction that you read, you really have no control over where the story goes, just like you have no control over your past. Things that have happened have already happened. We think that's what makes fictions and movies fundamentally different from games, and that's where the emotional power of movies and fictions come from. So how does the system work? The user self-tracks mood and behavior online for a week. We implemented the survey in Google Forms, and it looks something like this, Likert scales and questions. Every day they report their mood, stress level, social interaction, as I've shown in previous slides. Then we process the data and pick out the more important dramatic moments, we implemented the animation system in Unity. These are the engineering modules in the Unity system, and if you've ever developed a game, you'll be familiar with some of these concepts. The most different part from the game development routine is perhaps these behavior and emotional states that decides how the agent moves and acts. The weather system works in eliciting these different emotions. Cinematography, that is how the camera moves, is an important part of the narrative. Sometimes you need a close-up of the characters. Sometimes you need to zoom out so that you feel that the character is really small compared to the background. These are all automated and procedurally generated to tell different stories of each individual. Here's what the animation looks like. And we send the animation back to the user, closing the feedback loop. We did 2 studies to understand viewers' emotional response to these movies. In the first study, we wanted to know, can the users feel the same feelings that we wanted to elicit by designing these animations? We showed 30 participants different portrayal of the avatar's mood and behaviors that demonstrate anxiety, happiness, friendliness, and frustration. The scenes of happiness and stress, the lower 2, come with environment and ambient sound because it's environment, weather, lighting, and everything working together in these movies to elicit the emotions. We found that the avatar's emotions could be perceived accurately in general. And you can look at the paper for the stats. In the second study, we tested a full-length 5 to 8 minute personalized animation with 23 participants. Their age is 18 to 32, so they're all adults. We wanted to test the animation against the Barnum effect, which states that when people are told psychological test results are tailored for them, they often tend to accept general and ambiguous descriptions as accurate. We wanted to know, are personalized animation really effective? Or is it just that we give you this animation and we tell you this is about your life, so think about it, and they just read into it with their imagination? All participants self-track their mood and behavior for a week, and at the end of the week, the control group watched a non-personalized video generated by the system that has the dog running into a forest, walking to some other dogs, some ups and downs, very general stuff, and the personalized group watched a true personalized video for them. After viewing, we asked the participants, what do you think about the story in the video? What do you think about the main character? The video is generated from your mood and behavior data. What do you think the video reflected about you? We compared how participants understood the animation in both groups, how confused they were about the story, how many words they wrote, how many emotion descriptive words they used, such as emotional, happy, I was feeling nostalgic, and how many memories they were able to recall by watching the movie. The results are not statistically significant in any single comparison, possibly due to the small sample size. There are 13 people in the personalized group and 10 people in the control group. We looked into the data more and categorized the response into 3 types: indifferent, intrigued, and invested. Indifferent are the people who weren't very engaged. They say, I don't understand what the story is talking about, I wasn't interested, and their responses are very short. Intrigued are the people who were interested, described some emotions they felt, and invested are the people who wrote long emotional essays about their memories and reflections. So from the distribution, you can really see from the blue bars that some people in the control groups, they're very engaged by the animation, which validates the Barnum effect. However, personalized animation is more interpretable and emotionally engaging and personal than just telling the participants to believe so. Here are some written responses from the participants. We can see that the emotions vary on a wide range, from loneliness to a feeling of independence, fear, nostalgia, and optimism. Some people feel good, some people feel bad. You can refer to the paper for a full description of all their responses. I'll show you some more animation here. This animation clip shows two dogs partying in the rain. Before the participant, it elicited a rich recall of the memory of a friend moving away. Of course, we did not animate every little detail and every single word they said, but users' imagination and memories can go far beyond what is said and visualized in the animation. We have recently done more user study to use these movies as an intervention method for building self-compassion and self-esteem. There are some quite promising results we're writing up. We invited participants into the lab to view their animation and secretly recorded their facial expressions. The following video, we have the participants consent to share it with you, but please do not take photos or record it. This is when the participant came in, and then the animation just started, and you can see that she was relaxed, and she started watching the animation. All right, it has a different name in this iteration. However, when the scene popped up, I got backwards crossovers. Her facial expression changed. There's no audio in these movies, as when we're recording, we did not record audio, but there's some music, and then as the dog walks around, he has their footstep sounds. As more events happened, she started crying. I'll show you a little bit more because we don't have enough time to watch the whole thing. This is when the dog parted with the deer. Whatever this part of animation represents in her memory, it must be very, very emotional for her. These are her written response in the video. I don't know why, but I started crying when I saw the first memory flash up. For me, it was backwards crossovers. I've been trying really hard every day, but I didn't really remember the small moments until I saw them in this video. Seeing the dog try so hard to be happy made me really empathize with it. I try to think about myself as if someone wanted to be happy as much as I wanted the dog to be happy. The slow sunrise was very beautiful. I wish it was longer. And here are some takeaways from these studies. We conclude that the personalized movies, they're very personal. They're so personal that they can elicit negative emotions. Some people aren't very happy with these animations because they visualize their undesired mood and behaviors, and it showed them the part of themselves that they didn't like, while some others had more positive takeaways. Sometimes when human imagination plays an important part in both of these conditions, test and control, the impact we found suggests that true personalization might be more powerfully influential on moods and self-reflection than simply believing that one is receiving personalized feedback. I would like to thank the artists and animators who worked on the wonderful animation, Rafe, Tom, Brian, and Eugenia. They're great artists and very great people to work with. I'd also thank the Advancing Wellbeing Initiative at the MIT Media Lab for funding this project. And open to questions.
Don't be shy.
Hi, maybe I missed this, but maybe you can explain a little bit again how you are mapping emotions to the dog, because actually there's some relatively new research out there that says, well, actually people express emotions in very different ways. So for example,
Right.
if you see somebody sitting in the corner with a blanket over their head, they could be fearful, they could be sad, they could be embarrassed. There's all sorts of different emotions that this person might be having, and how we humans interpret it totally depends on the context of the situation.
Right.
So now if you're mapping emotions to the dog, how can you be sure that the person viewing them actually interprets this specific behavior exactly the same way as the next person?
Right. That's a great question, and it was actually the first question we asked when we were conducting the research, and that's why we did this study, to validate that people at least are perceiving the 4 basic emotions as correct. For these 4 videos, we wanted to demonstrate that the dog's friendly and frustrated or tired, happy and stressed. And you can see from the results that not all people agree that this is what they're seeing. Some people think the dog was excited in this stressful video when he was breathing fast and the ground was shaking, everything, the lighting was dark. In fact, different people respond to stressful situations differently. Some people are more confident, so they perceive stressful situations as challenge, while some people are just feeling threatened and scared, and they freak out over the stressful situations. So people do have these different interpretations. And we were able to later incorporate these findings in the design of visualizing the stressful situations. We incorporate questions such that we know how people are responding to stress differently, and then we showed different animations to show the dog's or the character's attitudes. And like you said, a lot of how people perceive emotions in these animations depend on the context. So sometimes if you want people to think the character is sad or whatever feelings it is feeling, you need to add music, and you need to add a little bit of weather change, like a snowstorm or some rain, darkening of the sky, to really elicit emotions. And even with that, we think we're doing the right thing, but still there are some people who might interpret things very differently. Thank you.
Hi, Noah Liebman, Schur, and Northwestern University. I'm glad you mentioned music in that last answer, because that's what I wanted to ask you about, which is music can be very emotionally powerful and evocative. So I was wondering how you picked the music, and then whether you looked at how much of the emotion that was evoked in your participants was from the animation itself, and how much was from the music and the soundtrack.
Yeah, we would. It would be great. It would be a great study to run to see, just showing people a silent animation versus animation with movies, animation with music. With the music, we try to use the kind of music, piano music, as you heard in some of the animations we showed. We wanted the music to be non-obtrusive, such that it does not take over the animation. So mostly it's like this little bit of piano sound in the background. And it's not overwhelming for the participants. And mostly they're just watching the video and hearing the sound of the forest. And the sound of the forest can change too. It could be the birds chirping, which implies happiness, or it could be the wind howling. And I think that's part of the music design or ambient sound design too. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Marlene Proman from Purdue University. My question is more on your conclusion side. You mentioned that this could have implications for actually raising self-esteem.
Right.
So if you could elaborate on that, because a lot of the negative emotions, the sadness, can be super powerful here. But how can you flip it?
I have to say that I don't know the answer to that question. In these studies we've run, sometimes the animation have negative impact on people's mood and self-esteem. We ran before and after tests. Some people are just really hurt by the animations. We're trying to see if by inserting positive moments into the animation can help them feel better. For example, when I ask you to think about what happened in the past week, I ask you, what did you do last Thursday? You might not immediately know because people's memories are fluid, right? If we have all this data of what happened in the past week, we can selectively show positive moments intersected with negative moments and give the story a positive swing. That's something we're trying to do. It's not 100% effective at all times. Some people are still very hurt by the sad moments. It's something we're very much trying to explore, and we hope that we would have some good answers to this question so that we don't release something like this online and people watch the animations and feel lower and have lower self-esteem and self-compassion after.
A quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Did you ever have instances where they actually got emotional from an event that is maybe really far down in their, further down their past rather than the recent week?
We only collected data from the recent week, so these are the things we could animate. But in one of the we investigated mood and the cause of the cause of the change of mood. And in one of the reasons is rumination and internal thoughts. Sometimes you just think about a past event and it makes you sad. It doesn't matter what's happening around you. So that is taken into account and visualized using this cave, and then this dog is running to this cave and getting a little lost. So we try to incorporate effects on mood from the long past, but then the data we only have is from the past week.